John, thank you for coming on to Under the Paycheck. You have a recruiting business called Recruiting Launch. I can't wait to hear all about this. How did you start this business? How did you even figure out day one, this is something that I could get into?
Sure. Yeah. Happy to unpack that, Amy. And thanks for having me on your show. So specifically, the business I have now is a company that coaches people and gives them support and consulting on how they can start their own independent recruiting business and do it on the side, even if they have a day job. But I'll kind of work backwards and lead up to this. Yeah. Like everyone else who works as a recruiter, I fell into it by accident because no one like goes to school and majors in a degree called recruiting. It just doesn't happen. You just fall into it, right? Or it finds you. So I walked into a staffing firm looking for a job, and then they recruited me to work for them as a recruiter. So I thought, oh, I didn't know this was even a job. And they're like, yeah, all you do is kind of play professional matchmaker. We work with companies who are having a hard time hiring the right talent. And if you can find them the right candidate, the right talent, and make sure that the interviews goes well and an offer gets made and accepted, then the agency gets paid a fee when, a match is made. You can help if you are good at people, you like helping others, you're like a natural connector, then this would be a good fit for you, John. I'm like, oh yeah, I feel like I'm always talking to people. I'm always introducing people in my network, and I always like to help people. And I feel like if I can get paid to help people find jobs, like that feels like a good thing to do. So why not? So that's how I got into my first recruiting job. And then but the problem was I was helping people these are like cashiers, like minimum wage people, which is fine. I really felt great helping them like get their job, and they said, thank you, John. I get paid rent now. Thank you so much for finding me this job. But then I was working really hard, but making very little money because as a recruiter, the way that the fee structure works is a recruiting agency, a recruiting firm, kind of like a real estate agency or insurance agency, works with lots of different companies, lots of different clients. And so they charge their client typically the industry average fee, which is 20% a candidate's first year base salary. So, for example,
Okay.
if a candidate is making $100,000 per year, then the fee would be 20% or $20,000 for helping that one person land the right role, right? Helping them get a job. And then but the agency gets that, the house. The recruiter, as employee, we get a fraction of that. So we're doing all this work for a tiny fraction of the fee that we bill for the client, right? The fee that we bill for the agency. So I was like, okay, I'm doing a lot of work, not getting paid a lot of money. And I realized, well, I'm in San Francisco. There's lots of engineers out here. They make a lot of money. So why don't I learn how to do like technical recruiting and get paid the bigger bucks? So I moved to a boutique recruiting firm that, they place like software developers. Now I had no technical background, but I knew that I liked recruiting. I was good at it. So they trained me on how to recruit engineers. I learned it like in 2 weeks. It's not that hard to kind of crack the code. And then now I was making bigger commissions. So I was making more money, and I was like, hey, this is more like it. I'm liking this. But then the problem was I'd have to send the resumes of the candidates I find to like the owner of the agency, and then he would just forward the resume over to their clients. So there's this middleman I had to like work with, and sometimes he wouldn't do his job. I would get feedback slowly, and any recruiter listening to this knows that that's a big pain point where you work really hard to find a good person, you present them and submit them. Now you just wait and hope that they get feedback from the client for you quickly before the candidate is off the market. So I got really frustrated with that. So I said, you know what? Like, I don't want to go through a middleman. If I recruit, I want to have direct access to the hiring manager. So I said, you know what? Maybe I'll just go work at corporate. So I went to work at Google as their corporate recruiter, like worked just for them. And I thought that was the cush job. It was like a 6-figure job. I could, unlimited gourmet food at Google, right? I could ride a bicycle. It was really fun. Play volleyball during lunch breaks, but it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows because at Google, yeah, I was getting paid well, but it was stressful. Everyone there was stressed out. I'm like, why is everyone so stressed out? This is supposed to be like chill. They're like, no, because if you work at as a corporate recruiter, the moment a company goes on a hiring freeze, we're the first to get cut. So they're all trying to like be the top performer so they don't get cut. And it's really competitive, and it wasn't that fun. So I'm like, you know what? This is really stressful. So to round on my story, I went back to the recruiting agency world, this time as the first hire for a new division for technical recruiting. and I learned how to get my own clients. So I'm like, oh, cool. Now I can work directly with the client and work directly with the candidate and just do all the work myself, have full control. And I was making good money. I was making half of the fee. So when a $20,000 fee came in, I'd make 10. I'm like, that's great. 10K for every hire. But but human nature kind of creeped in. I'm like, wait, why am I doing all the work and still giving half to my agency? Like, I could just
Mhm.
do this myself. And I wish I could have said that I just pulled a Jerry Maguire, just, quit and grab like a coworker, grab the goldfish from the tank and just like start my own firm down the street. But that's not what happened. What happened was I got laid off with the entire division. They decided to sell the company. They lay off my division. And that's when I decided, you know what? All right, I might as well just give it a shot. I've been thinking about for years to do my own recruiting business. And my top two clients followed me. They said, John, why don't you go solo? We'll sign with you. So if it wasn't for the support of my best clients, I probably wouldn't have had the guts to just take that leap. So I gave myself 90 days. Like 90 days, I'll try to run my business. If it works out, that's great. If it doesn't, I'll go back to looking for a job. But it worked out, and then grew the business over 5 years, brought in a partner, end up selling the business to him. And then at the time, a lot of my old coworkers from my recruiting days were reaching out to me saying, hey, John, I'm pissed off. My manager changed my comp plan. I want to start my own firm now. Can you show me the ropes? Like, how did you do it? And then I just showed them everything I learned the hard way through trial and error, and seeing them like take off way faster than I did. Because I just gave them my playbook that I came up with for myself. So that's what inspired me to start coaching. I'm like, oh, it was really fulfilling because helping other people who were stuck and confused on how to start their own recruiting business and see them get traction in months where it took me years to really get momentum. And so that coaching evolved into a program now called Recruiting Launch, where over the last 5 years, we've done nothing but help people who want to start their own recruiting business and do it without having to quit their job. And then really they just get paid to be a professional matchmaker and getting paid 20% of their candidate salary, on average $20,000 for helping someone get a job. I know it's hard to imagine, but that's kind of how the industry works. So that's my
Yeah,
long answer to your story.
these numbers are crazy. Like I have searched high and wide on businesses, on I was even a real estate agent at one point. I fell into that. Like you make commissions and you're selling like these $1 million homes and
Yeah.
and and all of that. I only ever sold two. And that was to myself, to another person. So sure, I got to like save on the commission, but I think a lot of people play that, it's easy to get clients, it's easy to get things. From your experience, is it relatively difficult, or can somebody actually make some sort of, at least, I'm going to say at least one hire within the 6 month period?
Yeah, so a good question. So maybe a good way to answer that is that the people we help tend to fall into two categories: recruiters and like people that are like working professionals. They don't have a formal recruiting background, but they have like 10, 15 years of experience in their field, and they're kind of like subject matter experts in what they do. So for example, the people who are recruiters, they tend to be pretty confident because like, oh, I already make like 4, 5, 6 hires per month from my job. So if I just did that on my own and placed like a fraction of the people, instead of getting 4 people a job a month and making like 10K in my job, if I just get one person a job per month, but I kept the entire fee, I could double my income and do like a fraction of the work. And so they see the light bulb. So to them, they feel it's very doable. But usually the challenge is recruiters are trained to recruit. We're not trained to like get our own clients, do business development, launch our own business, do marketing, branding, target clients, leverage systems and marketing tools. Like we just are taught to recruit. So
It's a lot. It's a lot.
yeah. So usually the challenge is client acquisition, which is our main focus, is helping people get their first client. Now, the other people who are non-recruiters, they tend to also, believe it or not, feel very confident in their ability to get hires, because they'll tell me, John, I've worked as a product manager or in healthcare or in sales or whatever their field is, and they've used recruiters to get their own job. And they'll say, the last recruiter I worked with that got me this job, I could tell by the way they're asking questions, they're just kind of going off a checklist on like my resume, like a job description checklist. And like I knew they barely knew what I did for my job. Like I could do their job better than them. And then they find out that recruiter made 20% of their fee just by forwarding their resume it to their client, they're like, I could do that job. Like, why don't I have that be a side business? So a lot of non-recruiters who are looking for a side business for supplemental income and that can potentially be their full-time thing, they are often drawn to recruiting if they have like good experience in their field, they have a network of people like them and are basically interested in helping companies hire people like them because they are people like them. So I'm like, hey, I've been doing this, job for 20 years. Like, I think I can help you find someone like me. All right. So it's a pretty clean type of value offering. And usually the people who again who even though they're not recruiters, they tell me all the time, John, I always help my friends get jobs. Like every time someone needs something in my network, they always come to me like, hey, do you know somebody? Or I'm looking to hire this, or I'm looking for a job. Do you know anybody? And they've made connections and
Mhm.
landed jobs for their friends until they realize, wait a second, professional recruiters are charging $20,000 or more for the exact same service I'm just giving away for free. Like, why don't I try to monetize this and make it a business? But of course, they have no idea how to run a recruiting business, how the fee structure works, the contracts, so they should come to us to kind of bridge that gap and learn the business, and we help them really, take off. So yeah, that's kind of the people that tend to come to us when they're interested in recruiting.
For a person who doesn't own a business, I'm gonna try to like lay it out a little bit more. I understand because I've had to hire out someone who can do like for my furniture business. Someone else is doing my diagrams because they could do a 3D model within an hour, which it'll take me like 2 weeks to
Yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah,
So for me, it's smarter to like hire out that person. For me, it's smarter out to like hire delivery drivers, someone who can like carry the furniture. Because if I have 10 orders, I need to be able to push that all out.
yeah,
Someone who is not in business, I think is going to find it a little difficult to dollars to find someone, like a finder's fee, and
yeah.
then hire the person when, like, why can't they just, like, do it themselves?
Sure, I can talk into that if you'd like. Right, because the when people first hear about this, it's hard to even wrap their head around why would someone pay so much money, like how they justify such a big fee. The reason why companies engage with recruiters, well, they're typically not the big companies, not like the Salesforce, Meta,
Google.
the Googles of the world, because they have like an army of internal recruiters that are expensive, highly trained. So those companies tend to not use that many recruiting agencies, nor do maybe really small businesses that have like less than 10 employees, because again, they probably wouldn't have the budget for that type of fee. So the sweet spot is a small to medium-sized business, an SMB that, let's say 50 to 500 employees, where they're growing, they're profitable, and now they need to grow, but they have maybe one HR person that's trying to do her job of HR plus posting jobs, hoping that the amazing person would apply and they can hire them, and they're kind of sifting through resumes and they can't keep up with the growth demands of the company. And so, that's when those small to medium-sized companies, they kind of rely on external recruiters to give them the extra horsepower to find those right people. So here's where we normally get reached out to, or they want to talk to us. There's three scenarios where companies would happily pay the fee. Number one is if a role has been open for too long. So you can imagine as a business owner yourself, if you really need to hire this role, you've been looking for 4 months. You've tried everything, posting jobs on job boards, asking your referrals, asking employees to ask their friends. You've interviewed tons of people and no one's the right fit. At this point, that starts to become an expensive problem, right? Every month that goes by, this role is not filled, creates strain and problems for the business. And that's when companies, they're like, all right, forget it. We're just going to throw money at the problem. A professional recruiter that is an expert in our industry and have them cherry pick and headhunt the right people from us. So, because let's face it, right? If those companies tend to just post jobs and they're waiting for the best person to apply, the best talent out there are not unemployed at home on the couch, sending their resumes everywhere. Right, the best talent is already working. They're working for their competitor usually, and they're heads down, making great money. They're well rewarded. They are amazing performers. Those are the people that they want to hire, but those people don't apply to jobs. So what do? They have to be proactively sought after, and that takes skill to reach out to someone who's
Oof.
really not looking for a job, inspire them, intrigue them to take an interview with your client, and then kind of massage the whole relationship into them getting an offer that they're like, okay, I can't refuse this offer. And then you just kind of poach someone from like a competitor of your clients and handed them like an amazing rock star. And when that level person gets added to their team, you can imagine the net effect, the net impact is way more than 20,000. Now, the other way they do it is if they don't use a recruiter and they just hire someone who randomly apply and it ends up being a bad hire. Like three
The
months
wrong
go by, not
person.
the right fit. They have to unwind it, fire them, start again. That opportunity cost, like that costs more than $20,000 to have a bad hire, right? Way more.
Mhm.
So that's kind of the usual scenario. The other two briefly are if someone is a backfill. A backfill means someone quit unexpectedly. So imagine you're hiring manager and your senior manager, your department head just quit. They gave no notice. They just left. They took an offer that they couldn't refuse. And now they left the ball. They just left you with a bag. And now you're scrambling, like, because now you're doing your job and their job. And now you're like, I need this role filled ASAP because they unexpectedly quit on us or something like that, right? Something happened. They got hit by a bus. We need to get this person in this seat working ASAP. So when the speed is the name of the game, then they'll come to us and they're happily paid 20K or 20% of the salary to get the role filled quickly with the right person. So best person quickly is sometimes like an emergency situation. And the third scenario, just to round this out, is a lot of times they want to hire, let's say, a VP of sales for a company, but there's always someone working there. Like their current VP of sales is underperforming, so they have to management decide to replace them. The board of directors said, we need to replace our VP. Well, you can't just post a job saying, hey, we're looking for a VP, when the VP will be like, hey, that's my job being posted. And you
Mhm.
don't want to create a big scene and affect the company morale. So when companies need to replace a key employee discreetly and quietly, like build up interview pipeline and the candidates that they can just choose from and do a quick swap, that's when they'll use recruiting firms because we can do it quietly, potentially, without the company, again, affecting their morale or making a big scene for them. Does that kind of make sense why it can be justified to work with recruiters in that situation?
It does to me because say I've had to hire like 10 different people for like 10 different projects. I think I can honestly tell you that maybe one or two of them were like a great fit and we kept working together and they kept coming back for projects and things like that. But the other 8 was just like, "Oh, okay, we're just gonna do this one thing. Let's get this over with, and I'm never gonna see you ever again."
Yeah, good help is always hard to find because that good help isn't available. They're already employed somewhere else. So it's like, okay, how do you get that person to quit their
And
job and join your team?
and you ask all the wrong questions. I think in my first property, I didn't know contractors were a thing. I
Uh-huh.
was, like, really, really young, and I was just trying to hire someone to, like, help me do a bathroom renovation. And you think, "Okay, I'm gonna get a couple quotes,
Yeah,
gonna get the quotes." You don't go with the cheapest, you don't go with the highest, you go with, like, the middle one, right?
yeah,
I go with the middle one. That guy that I, like, shook hands with and, like, had all the paperwork with, I never saw him again. He was technically a contractor, and he, like,
yeah.
hired it out to someone else, and I didn't like his work.
Yep. It's
But
it's it's yeah. People find it frustrating all the time to find good work. So I think at the end of the day, if anyone listening to this and at any point you think to yourself, oh, you know what? I could do that. Like I could help companies find people, especially in my industry that I have a lot of experience with. I know a lot of people. Like I wouldn't mind getting paid $20,000 to help one person get a job and it's something I could do part time on the side, like, then this is actually a real thing. Like, it's not so much like starting a recruiting business because that can sound a bit daunting or intimidating. It's really like becoming a independent recruiter or freelance recruiter. Just like a freelance graphic designer, you could be a freelance recruiter and just have one or two clients, one or two companies at any given time who are looking for people, and you can just help them, find the right person and again, just get paid to be a matchmaker. The problem is though, when people try to do this themselves, they usually get stuck in a few places. Like they pick the wrong niche because you have to specialize. If you want to really be seen as a specialist, you have to pick a lane. So they pick the wrong lane and that causes problems, or their personal branding and their design looks a bit off, not professional enough. So that can hurt the response rate. Or they send messages to hiring managers, but that message sounds like every other recruiter trying to hit up that hiring manager. So it gets ignored or lost in the noise. Or when they try to leverage like LinkedIn automation, email automation to cast a wide net, they get tripped up with the technology. And then or they don't know how to do the contracts. If they can imagine themselves getting a call, like getting on the call with a director or VP level hiring manager, they're like, well, great. What do I say now on the call? How do I have a good conversation where they agree to work with me and pay me? Those question marks, if they don't figure out, like it's enough for people to kind of just not pursue this because they're like, oh, this is too scary, or like I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to get clients and launch, which is why that's where kind of we come in, where we built the recruiting business for them. It's done for you. We optimize your niche. We built their branding. We write their messaging in their voice. We launched the automation tools. So in 2 weeks, they're fully operational and they're starting to generate conversations with hiring managers. And then we coach and support them along the way to their first client, their first placement. And then we scale them up, even help them build a team. And then, we've had many people start making north of $500,000 to $1 million a year with a small team because they have like 10 clients and
That's crazy.
it scales up. Uh, but that's kind of how it works. It's been really
And
fun
there's
to help people do this. Yeah.
and there's no licensing. My quickest Google search said that and I could totally be wrong, that California, you need a recruiter's license and a $3,000 surety bond and contracts ready for the businesses to sign, agreeing to like the 20%, 50% type of
Yeah.
documents.
So good question. So there is so recruiting has a very low bar to entry. You don't need a specialized degree. You don't need a license. I think what you might have found might pertain to like healthcare staffing companies where
Maybe.
if it's your employees going to work on site with somebody else, then they might require insurance. But that's called staffing, where they're your employees, they work hourly for your client. That's way complicated. It's more like a phase 2 or phase 3, like evolution of the business. When you scale, we can teach you staffing. In the beginning, it's way easier to do direct hire, where they want someone full time. You find someone's resume, you email them the resume, they hire them, and you get paid that 20% of their salary as a finder's fee. So when you run that model, though it's super low overhead, like literally just a couple $100s a month for tools and your website and a laptop and a phone, and kind of have an idea of what you're doing, and you can do this. So you don't need to even have a website. If you can reach out to the right person and they agree to work with you, you can just get going. So again, very low barrier to entry, but it's a double-edged sword, right? Because it's easy to jump into this. It can be
It's easy to
competitive.
jump out.
It's easy to jump out, and there's a lot of people doing like technical recruiting. There's a lot of people doing healthcare recruiting. So unless you have everything dialed in, your messaging, your branding, your niche, your sales skills, your recruiting skills, everything, like the good thing is it's not rocket science. It's all learnable. You just have to be a 7 out of 10 in all the areas. And if you're new to this, or you're a good recruiter, but you don't know how to get clients, like it's important to really, you have to level up on those skills. Or if you don't have any recruiting experience, but you have industry experience, then you can learn the rest. It's pretty simple to learn. And yeah, and you can either learn one of two ways: either go get a job as a recruiter for a few years to learn the ropes, or of course, like hire someone like us and we can just build a recruiting business for you, coach you, and kind of bring you up to speed very quickly. Most of the people we work with get their first deal within month 3 or 4, their first hire. And then, they can scale at that point too, over the course of a year. And usually once they make their first placement, they've like 2 or 3x their ROI into our program. And it's a win-win. So it's really fun to see people say, John, I never thought I could do this. And it's fun. I just play matchmaker and I could do it from anywhere. I can handpick my clients. I can travel. It's like I bring my laptop with me. And as long as it's make sure that interviews are being, moved forward, everything is being handled. It's just a people business, especially with these days with AI, and everyone's talking about AI and everything taking over all the jobs. I think you probably agree in real estate, like recruiting is one of those evergreen industries where It's been around forever and it will be around forever. It's like time tested because as long as there's a demand for the very best talent and companies are competing with each other for the best available talent, there's going to be a need for people and recruiters to help them find that level of quality of people. Same thing with real estate. There's obviously demand for houses, right? And that's not going anywhere. People always need homes. I think people always need jobs. And again, companies are very picky about who they hire, especially with these really hard to fill, demanding, high level positions. And they're happy to pay to find the right person because the wrong person is disastrous for them.
I agree with all of this. I love all of this. This is all very fascinating. In my research, I was seeing people claiming that they can make K a year with just 10 hours a week and making the 20K per hire and the 50K per hire for people who want to try to get into this. So tech, I would imagine tech is very busy and lots of people in it, and the healthcare is very busy and lots of people in it. What would you say about like construction,
hmm
real estate, or law?
Yeah, a great question. So, if anyone and you or anyone listening can go to our website, Recruiting Launch, and at the bottom we have dozens of interviews with testimonials and case studies of people we work with, and we have so many that you can actually sort by industry. So you can sort by construction, and we have several people who have placed like project managers in construction, and those are six-figure roles, and they do very well. We have people in legal, like this guy Syed, no law background, no recruiting background. He placed an attorney for a quarter million, it's a 250K salary. So a $250,000 salary. He made $50,000 with one hire for a senior attorney for a small law firm. They've been looking for a long time. He found the right person and they hired him. Yeah. And so we have people from like speech therapists, people from real estate, property management, people that hire like director of property management. Like those are roles are not easy to find, as I'm sure you know. In any industry, there's always a demand for like the top talent. So it doesn't matter. Like people ask all the time, what's the best like vertical? What's the best niche? There really is no, like, I wish there were like, hey, pick one of these five and you'll make lots of money and there's very little competition. It's really what's the best niche for you. So that's why, like, when we kick off with a new client, the very first call, we spend the entire call on optimizing and discovering what's their niche. So we look at like their background, their passion, the market demand, the supply of available candidates, and we can we have a process to then really prescribe confidently, okay, this is the niche for you, given our analysis. And so then we build business around that niche. And then when they go to market, they are seen as a subject matter expert because they're so specialized in who they recruit for.
Say we are looking for an attorney, right? I go and try to fill this position. There are 40 different attorneys. I see the resumes, I see the profiles. Am I doing any sort of background checks? Am I doing any sort of like, once tell them, hey, this is your guy, and like worst case scenario, they end up being a horrible fit,
Yeah.
what happens?
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Good question. So let's say you're the hiring manager in this scenario. You're the partner of the firm. I'm a legal recruiter. I would say to you, so hey, Amy, thanks for sharing the time with me today and explaining to me why this senior patent attorney has been open for 3 months. It's a very specific role, and I know you have a few people you're interviewing. You're working with other recruiters. But here's the deal. All we do is legal recruiting, and we're very familiar with patent law. Like that's one of our core areas. So the way we work with us is we work on a performance basis only, which means, Amy, there's no fee to work with us upfront. There's no upfront costs. There's no obligation. You can even interview my candidates. And only if you feel that my attorney candidates are significantly stronger than any other candidate you're talking to, and you decide to make them an offer and they accept, would there be a one-time recruiting fee of 20%, which is standard. And we back up every candidate with a 90-day guarantee, which means if for any reason within the first 90 days they don't work out, we'll do a one-time good faith replacement at no cost. So we have you
Mm.
covered there. So what do you say, Amy? Can I
Okay.
send you my two best patent attorneys? And I think the quality of the work, my quality of the resume should speak for themselves. So that's kind of
That's
like how we
okay.
would present that.
It's not complicated. It's not like this big dramatic thing. Because when you think of like worst case scenario, you think like building's gonna burn. type. But
Yeah,
no, that
yeah.
sounds very simple, very reasonable, very like that could totally work. And you are giving me horrible ideas because I used to work for the courthouse and I used
Uh-huh.
to be a paralegal. Well, I'm still a paralegal, but I don't use it anymore. So now I'm like, I do know a bunch of attorneys. I
Yep,
do
there
know
you
a bunch
go.
of judges.
You can,
Oh
yeah,
my
you make
God.
the judges and attorneys are hard to find. You can make some introductions and you have this be your little professional side hustle. But yeah, so the
Used to
idea is not so
party with
much.
them.
Yeah, well, the idea is not so much to like replace what they're doing because a lot of times they say, "Well, John, we have an HR person or we have a recruiter that works for our company already." I'm like, that's great. You know, all of my clients actually have internal recruiters as well. But you know, and they tap me on the shoulder occasionally to help, or occasionally when they have certain roles that are really hard to fill and they want some additional candidate flow. They want to see more options. They might have two or three they're looking at, but they want to see two or three more. And that's when they'll ask me to kind of give them some other options to look at, and then they can choose the best one, whether it's my candidate or one they found on their own. So my job is to not replace what your team is doing well. My job is to really give you more options to look at. And I'm happy to really look for the best of the best and bring you people that I think are strong and you can decide who's the best fit for your team.
No, I
And
love
and I
this
and I
stuff.
and I only get paid if you choose my candidate. So there's no risk on your end. Only if you fall in love with them and you decide to hire them, whether it be kind of a fee. And again, we have a rock solid 90-day guarantee. What do you say? Right. So
I
that's
would
the
agree.
idea. Yeah. Thanks. So
Especially with
yeah,
my lines of work, I would agree. You could do it all.
yeah.
I like this type of business because one of the reasons I left the courthouse, and don't worry, I swear we're almost done. One of the reasons I left the courthouse was because no matter how much I worked, no matter if I went earlier, if I did overtime, I was still basically at like 40K a year. I don't remember the exact number, but I always say like 40K a year. And it didn't matter if I did 12 cases that day or 115 cases that day. So finding these types of businesses to where if you put in more of the work, in theory, hopefully, it pays out more. Whether you're just making that one call a day, then you're going to get the results of that one call a day. If you're making 50 calls a day, then hopefully, you know, you get
Yeah.
those results for making those 50 calls a day. And that's what I like about recruiting. It looks like you can have as many companies on your roster
Mhm.
as you want. If you want to go full out this year, try to grab as many companies. If you want to just like have it as a part-time, grab one or two.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because one of the biggest barriers to doing this is time. Because people say, John, like I've been thinking about doing my own business. I like the idea of being an independent recruiter, but look, I work a 9 to 5 job. I got 3 kids. I'm exhausted by the time I have home. Like I don't have time to spend 2 or 3 hours a day manually researching companies, reaching out to prospective clients. So, and everyone else says the same thing, right? So what we do is that's why we leverage like LinkedIn automation. So imagine you would spend, 2 hours a day handwriting messages on LinkedIn to these hiring managers. Instead, we could take that message you would normally write yourself and load it into a sequence and just have that have that be sent out on autopilot through automation. So imagine, sending 25 connection requests per day in the background. So then then what your workflow looks like is all you do is check your LinkedIn inbox once a day or twice a day and see who raises their hand, which hiring manager replies back saying, "Oh, hey, Amy, yeah, we do need help. But we filled our patent attorney role, but we do need a litigator. Can you help with that? Or we need a paralegal. Can you help with that?" And you can just have that back and forth, schedule a call and have just a conversation with another person who just needs some help. And so since we installed the automation for our clients, now all of a sudden they can do this with just 3 hours or 4 hours a day because the automation just taps hiring managers on the shoulder to get their attention in the background. So it just runs in the background. You set it and forget it. We help you manage it. But that has replaced. So we don't, no one ever needs to do cold calls, cold emails, cold reach outs because the automation can do that for you. And you just reply back to warm leads basically and have just a human to human conversation. So that's really opened up the door for a lot of people who want to do this part time, that the tools do the heavy lifting for you.
See, I'm one of those strange, odd people who don't have a LinkedIn, and I really need to get on that.
Yeah,
I don't know how.
we reach out to me, email me. I'll help you out with that. That's one of our things. Because like like let's face it, every hiring manager is on LinkedIn. So it's a great channel to reach out to them. And LinkedIn has a much higher response rate than a cold email because you're just a stranger. Like who's this random person emailing me? But on LinkedIn, it's like social media. You can see their face, their profile, their background, and be like, oh, okay, I this person will be someone I want to talk to, which is why we spend so much time branding our client's LinkedIn profile. So that way we make it professional and polished and really attracts the clients to want to work with them. Because you can be really good at what you do, a really hard worker, a great recruiter, but if your profile looks kind of meh or
Sketchy.
suboptimal, yeah, and your message sounds like everyone else, you're not going to get any doors, yeah, are going to open up for you. You have to kind of dial everything in from day one. And the thing with recruiting is you never know who would be your best client. Like you never know which hiring manager would give you repeat jobs every single month and become a key account. Like every recruiting agency owner has like one or two clients that feeds them 80% of their business. They take the 80/20 principle. So you never know who's going to be your main account that gives you almost all your business. And you're going to bill six figures a year just from that one client. So when you show up, you have to ideally, you have one chance to make a good first impression. So your branding, your messaging, your niche, the way you run the call with the client, the way you handle the fee agreement, the way you recruit has to be, dialed in if you want to really do this for real. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's not a fly by night. It's a real business. It takes work, but it's doable, and it's really just professional matchmaking. You don't have to learn any technical skills. You don't have to learn marketing skills or e-commerce skills or anything kind of like random. It's just making connections, and most people have already done that. So most people already have the skills to do this. It's just applying it in a professional way and getting paid for it.
Yeah, especially in
Yeah.
contracts, applying
Yeah.
it
Exactly.
specifically in contracts. Well,
Yeah.
thank you
Yeah.
so much, John. That's all I got. Please let everyone know where they can find you, and I obviously will be linking everything in the description.
Well, yeah, no, I appreciate it. This has really been fun to talk about this. Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, John Chitanarode, or that's pretty hard to spell. So you can also go to recruitinglaunch.com. Yeah, it's a recruiting launch where we help you launch a recruiting business. There's a 15-minute intro video that explains how this all works. I think just by watching that, you can figure out if this is something that might be of interest to you or not. And if so, there's a link to book a call with me and happy to answer questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks, Amy. Bye now.